Today we're going to look at polynomial long division. So hopefully this doesn't bring up too much PTSD from fourth grade long division. And funny that I mentioned that. We're actually going to start with fourth grade long division. Just a recap of how you do it. I think a lot of people forget how to do it. So basically the idea here is you've got this is called your dividend, by the way, the blue part there. Okay, so that's called the dividend. I'm going to refer to these things by name, so it's good to know them. 4 is called the divisor, the thing that you're dividing by. And the result, what you get when you take two things and divide them, is called the quotient. And then if there's a remainder, then we put the remainder there. And hopefully you all remember what the remainder is. I wish they would use these words in elementary school, but they don't. So here we are. All right, so we're going to take 29,731, the dividend, and we are going to divide that by 4. 4 is the divisor. Whatever our answer is, that's going to be our quotient, and then our remainder will be our remainder. So, okay, so what you do here is you ask yourself, how many times does 4 go into the very first number here? Okay, so 4 doesn't go into 2. So you can write a 0 here if you want. Some teachers do, some don't. I don't really bother writing a 0 there. It's not really necessary. So then you ask yourself, okay, if it doesn't go into 2, does it go into 29? And the answer is, yeah, it goes in 7 times, right? 4 times 7 is 28. So you ask yourself, how many times does 4 go into 29? Okay, the steps are right here. I should have written steps here. So how many times does the divisor go into the dividend? So that's going to be 7. So we do 7 times 4 is 28. And we write that here. And you remember what we do? We draw a line and then we subtract. Okay, so number 2 is you multiply. Number 3 is you subtract. So we're going to do that when we do 29 minus 28. We get 1. Okay, and then, oh my gosh, Mr. T, what are you doing? You don't even remember the steps of long division, do you? So the next step here is we're going to bring down the next number. So bring down the next number. In this case, it would be the 7 here, right? So we're going to bring that 7 down. And then we repeat the process, right? So now it's how many times does 4 go into 17? So 4 goes into 17 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. We subtract, we get 1. We bring down the 3. And then, you just rinse and repeat on this. How many times does 4 go into 13? 4 goes into 13 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. We subtract, we get a 1. Bring down the 1. How many times does 4 go into 11? It goes in twice. 2 times 4 is 8. We subtract, we get a 3. That's our remainder, okay? So we say the answer here is 7,432 with a remainder of 3. If you actually threw this into the calculator, what you would get is 7,432.75. And the 0.75 comes from taking 7,432 and adding 3 divided by the original divisor, which was 4. So that's why you get this decimal when you divide it like that, okay? But in fourth grade, we were pretty happy with that answer. That's what your calculator would get if you plugged it into your calculator. So that's a quick recap on that. Long division with polynomials, the good news is basically exactly the same as long division from fourth grade. It's just one added step of complexity because we have variables, right? So we have like x cubed and x. So the question is, what do we do with that? So I'm here to answer that. So, okay, so again, we've got, here's our example. So find the result when this polynomial is divided by that. And we got our terminology over here, our vocab. The steps are the same. The steps are slightly reworded here, but it is literally the exact same idea here, okay? So the first step is not how many times does 4 go into 29, but what does the leading term of the divisor, okay, need to be multiplied by to get the next term in the dividend, okay? So basically, it's literally asking how many times does 4x go into 8x cubed? So it's the same idea. There's 2 terms here, so we can't do 4x plus 1. How many times does that go into 8x cubed? It's literally just how many times does 4x go into 8x cubed? Or in other words, what does 4x need to be multiplied by to get 8x cubed? Okay? Those are the same question. I'll say it again. How many times does 4x go into 8x cubed? is the same question as what does 4x need to be multiplied by to get 8x cubed as the result? Okay, so let's think about that. What would you need to multiply 4x by to get 8x cubed? Well, I would say 4 times 2 would give you 8. And then what do you need to multiply x by to get x cubed? You're going to have to multiply by x squared, right? So let's think about this. 4x times 2, I can't write today. 2x squared is going to give you, 4 times 2 is 8. X times x squared is 8x cubed there. Or sorry, x times x squared is x cubed. So the result there is 8x cubed, okay? So that's what you need to multiply 4x by to get 8x cubed. So that's step 1. And you write that up here. Step 2, multiply. Okay, so we're going to multiply. What we're going to do is we're going to multiply the entire green expression by the entire purple expression here. So that it's going to distribute. So you're going to get 8x cubed plus, and then the 2x squared is going to multiply the 1 as well. So you're going to get a 2x squared there. Okay? Now we are going to subtract. That is step 3. We are going to subtract. This is the step that people screw up the most. Make sure you put parentheses around this, and we need to distribute the negative when we do this, okay? So we're going to put parentheses around what we wrote there. We're going to distribute the negative. 8x cubed minus 8x cubed, that should be 0 by design. I'm not going to write a 0. 30x squared minus 2x squared. So 30x squared minus 2x squared is going to give you 28x squared. Okay? The next step, which Mr. T cannot remember because he doesn't remember how to do long division, is to bring down the next number. Bring down the next, and instead of number, I'm going to say term. Okay? So we'll bring down 19x here. All right. Here we go. How many times does 4x go into 28x squared? So what you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself again, how many times does this, not really the whole thing, but this, go into the next term? Okay? The next term in the dividend. So that would be the next term there. Okay, so how many times does it go in? It's going to be, what do I need to multiply 4x by to get 28x squared? That's going to be plus 7. 4 times 7 gives you 28. X needs to get multiplied by x to give you x squared. So that's going to be 7x there. Okay, let's multiply. So we're going to take 7x times that. So when we do that, we're going to get 28x squared plus 7x, and then we're going to put this in parentheses and divide it. We are going to distribute this. When we divide, we get 0 here. I'm not going to write 0. We get 19x minus 7x. So 19x minus 7x would be 12x. Bring down the next term. And now we repeat the process. How many times does 4x go into 12x? What do I need to multiply 4x by to get 12x? So I have to multiply by 3. So when we do that, we're going to multiply 3 and 4x plus 1. We get 12x plus 3. When we do that, we're going to put that whole thing in parentheses, subtract. We get 0, which is exactly what we wanted. We have a remainder of 0. So the answer here, so this is our answer, and we would say the quotient, technically, right? This is our answer, and I'm going to do this in, I'll do it in red here. Oh, just kidding. I'm going to erase it. Okay. So that is the result that you get when you divide 8x cubed plus 30x squared plus 19x plus 3 by 4x plus 1. Okay? That's how you do it. There are a couple caveats that I need to throw in on this, so we got to talk about those, but that is how long division works. So follow these steps, and you'll be good to go. Okay? Let's look at a couple more examples. How about this one? So we got 2x cubed minus 4x squared minus 13x plus 21 divided by x minus 3. So there's a note here. It says if there's a remainder, write the remainder over the divisor. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. That was kind of like our remainder here. Remember how we had 3 and we wrote it as 3 over 4? That's all we're going to do on this one. Okay, so let's do this. You ready? So we got 2x cubed minus 4x squared minus 13x plus 21. And we're going to divide that by x minus 3. So the game here is how many times does x go into 2x cubed? And the answer is 2 2x squared. That's what we would need to multiply x by to give us 2x cubed. So we're going to multiply now. So we have 2x cubed, and then 2x squared times negative 3x, or sorry, times negative 3. That is a negative, by the way. It's going to be minus 6x squared. So when I take the orange and the orange and multiply them, I get that right there. All right, put it in parentheses, subtract it. When you do this, you have negative 4x squared minus negative 6x squared. That's really plus 6x squared. So if you have negative 4x squared and you add 6x squared, that's going to leave you with positive 2x squared. All right, question. Repeat the process. How many times do we have to multiply? What do we have to multiply x by to get 2x squared? So that's going to be 2x. Okay, so let's multiply. Oh, you forgot to bring down the minus 13x. Okay, here we go. So we're going to multiply. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 3 is minus 6x. Put that in parentheses, subtract it. Here we go. Negative 13x minus negative 6x. That's really plus 6x. So that's going to be minus 7x. Bring down the 21. How many times do I need to multiply x by to get negative 7x? That's going to be minus 7. Okay, so here we go. We're multiplying negative 7x plus 21. Okay? Oops. There's supposed to be a remainder on this, but there isn't. So, all right, here we go. So this right here would be our answer. Now, let me say this since we're here. Let's say the remainder was 8 here, okay? What you would do is you would say your answer is 2x squared plus 2x minus 7 plus 8 over the original divisor, which in this case would be x minus 3. Okay, so that's hypothetical. We're not doing that because there was no remainder here, but that's how you would do it. All right. Let's talk about something where we're going to have a weird situation come up, and this always throws people off. What happens here is see how you have an x squared here, and then you don't have an x term, and then you have minus 3? That makes the math a little tricky once we actually get to doing the long division. So let's do this one and then one more, and then we'll be all done, okay? All right. So what do we need to multiply 2x squared by to give us 8x to the 4th? That's going to be 4x squared is what I'm going to need to multiply by. So when I multiply, I get 8x to the 4th minus 8x squared. Now, here is the problem. Y'all don't pay attention. Okay, look at this. The red and the red. One of them is an x cubed. Actually, I'm going to do red and gray. Okay? One of them is x cubed. One of them is x squared. Those are not like terms. You cannot combine them. Okay? So do not stack this negative 8x squared under the x cubed. Where do you need to stack it? What you need to do is you need to move it over here, right? So it's lined up with the x squared. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're doing these problems. Put everything in parentheses and subtract. Here we go. When we subtract, this 10x squared or cubed does actually come down. So 10x cubed comes down. This is 0, but I'm not going to write it. And then we have negative 24x squared minus negative 8x squared. That's really plus 8x squared, so that's going to be minus 16x squared. So negative 24 plus 8 would give you negative 16. Okay, bring down the next term and repeat the process. How many times does 2x squared go into 10x cubed? That's going to be 5x. Okay, 5, 2 times 5 is 10, and x, because x squared times x would give you x cubed. All right, here we go. We're multiplying this with this now. So we have 10x cubed. Be careful. 5x times negative 3 is minus 15x. Do not put it here. Line it up. Minus 15x. Parentheses. Minus. Okay, this is going to come down. Negative 16x squared. Negative 25x minus negative 15x. That's going to be minus 10x, right? So we're doing negative 25 and we're actually adding 15. So, all right, bring down the plus 10. Here we go. How many times does 2x squared go into negative 16x squared? That's going to be minus 8. Okay, so minus 8, we're going to multiply. Negative 16x squared plus 24. We don't have any x's there, so don't put the plus 24 there. Put this in parentheses, and we're going to subtract. Here we go. So we're going to get negative 10x, and then we have 10 minus 24 minus 14. That's your remainder, okay? So here's what we're going to say. You ready? We're going to say that the answer here is 4x squared plus 5x minus 8 plus our remainder, which is negative 10x minus 14, over the original divisor. So you want to put it over 2x squared minus 3. That is your answer, and that's what Delta Math wants you to do when you put it in, is write it just like that. Okay, that's it. So you take our quotient here. That was right there. And you put the quotient in there, and then you put the remainder, and then you put the divisor, and that's it. Okay, let's do one more. And this is where I see people screw up a lot. And this last tip here is if any of the terms are missing, put a 0 in their place. What do I mean by missing? Well, let's do this. So find the result when 6x cubed minus 23x squared plus 12 is divided by 3x plus 2. See how there's no x in here? So we have 6x cubed. We have 23x squared, but there's no x in here. So we need to actually put 0x. You'll see why here in a minute. It's very similar to the last problem. Okay, our divisor is 3x plus 2. Let's do this. How many times does 3x go into 6x cubed? That would be 2x squared. Let's multiply 6x cubed plus 4x squared. And here we go. So this is 0. I'm not going to write a 0 though. Negative 23x squared minus 4x squared is going to give us negative 27x squared. You can bring down the 0x, but it's not going to do much, but we'll bring it down anyway. All right, here we go. How many times does 3x go into negative 27x squared? That's going to be minus 9x. Okay, so here we go. So that's going to be minus 27x squared minus 18x. See, if you don't put the 0x here, you're going to get a 12 there, and then you're like, what do I do with this minus 18x? I can't combine it with the 12. All right, we're going to subtract. Don't forget to distribute. So this is going to be 18x, and then we're going to bring down the 12 here. And this one actually looks like it's going to work rather nicely. So how many times does 3x go into 18x? That's going to be 6. 6 times 3x is 18x. 6 times 2 is 12. We always love to see the exact thing mirrored here. So whenever that matches, that's good. That means when we subtract, we'll get 0. Okay, so this would be our answer right there. That's going to be our quotient. That's our answer. All right. Good luck on that Delta Math.